Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And this week we're going to finish up our conversation with Linda Gray, best known for her role as Sue Ellen Ewing on Dallas.
Oh my gosh, what a remarkable lady. I love her.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we get into that, though, as you know, Elizabeth and I are huge movie fans, which is why it's real easy to talk with these people who work in the business because we are fans of them and their work on screen. So we went and saw the movie Downsizing over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and that starred Matt Damon.
Yeah.
And I thought the whole premise of the movie is basically they have found a way to shrink people so that we use less resources,
Right.
save the earth, and we live in these very tiny communities where your money buys you this humongous mansion because it's really just like a dollhouse.
I was going to say they just look like dollhouses to me.
Yeah. So what'd you think?
Well, I thought it was a strange movie. The concept is good. Not that anybody in the United States we are supersized, whatever, downsized to that level. But it was a very interesting movie, and just a kind of a, like, most of the stuff we kind of had seen in trailers.
Right.
So we knew the majority of the story. But I still think it was a film worth seeing, but just because of the whole global impact of it. But I did leave the movie kind of disappointed going, and?
The movie did not get very good reviews. In fact, there was an old couple sitting next to me on the other side, and they're like, what did you think of the movie? And I thought, well, the reviews were right. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with the acting
No.
of the people in the movie. It was well done.
It was, but I do feel very much like I didn't realize until they, made it black that it was that was the end. Like, kind of like, well, finish it up, like,
Yeah.
wrap it. That it didn't wrap up as well as I had liked it to. So
I totally agree with that summation.
Which is one of the things that we talked to Linda Gray about. Kind of a bad wrap up.
Right, of Dallas, how it
Yeah.
just kind of left you hanging. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of Linda Gray, let's finish that conversation.
Yeah.
Enjoy part 2 of our conversation with Linda Gray.
Here we
on
go.
Fancounters.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters, the podcast.
You're amazing. You need to come to Hollywood. I'm going to make you famous.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
There's just like security guards with like M16
Holding like fans back.
Are you kidding me?
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God!
I definitely declined signing body parts.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
On this show, we are all about hearing our guests' stories about their encounters with fans. That's the whole premise here. So
We're called Fan
we
Counters.
worked all the way through this interview to find this out. So, do any fan encounters stick out as memorable for you?
Well, I think it's because I had, and Larry and Patrick and I, we had older fans. They weren't like, teenagers tearing our clothes apart or whatever the crazy thing happens like that. We had respectful fans, and we had great fans that would tell us, like Elizabeth told, great stories of sitting on the couch with Grandma and then the crazy Brits with their drinking problems. Then they would dress up as the character. So we had great fun people dressing up as their favorite character and having a wild, crazy drinking party or whatever. Fun things, very fun things that we didn't even think of. And I think that one of the weirdest things were a lot of women during the Who Shot JR era, they were giving birth to the babies in hospitals. And they wouldn't leave. They wouldn't leave their rooms to go have the baby because they said, no, not yet. The baby has to wait because we have to see who shot JR. I mean, crazy things like that that we all thought was pretty funny and a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's a baby coming.
Oh, that's
but
funny.
my fans were pretty normal, pretty nice.
What would you think is the weirdest thing a fan has sent you? I'm sure you got lots of gifts and letters and cards throughout the years, but did they send you some weird stuff?
there were a lot of weird things. Meant to be lovely, and but a lot of just weird things.
Like what?
Over the years, had I saved them all, I would have had to have a room full of, memorabilia, I guess I'll call it. And so, but they found a magical way out. So there were weird things, but they came from a good place. They came from a good heart. I've got a big fan in Scotland, and she's very, very generous, and she sends me gift certificates to Neiman Marcus.
Oh, my.
Very. So it goes from there to sending me, a little tchotchke thing. So, but nothing weird. In the beginning, I think there were some sort of stranger things, but that's been a long time ago. So. Not so much. I mean, I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but
no, it's okay.
So
we want to hear what you have to tell us.
Can you think of maybe a person or fan that you ran into that you had a conversation that their story stuck with you or had an impact on your life?
All of the ones that it had made the whole show became a part of their life. Because when the show was originally on, again, going back to no VCRs and no TiVos and none of that stuff, it was appointment television. So they had to really be there, and then either their grandmother's gone or mother's gone, but they remember like making chili that night. Friday night was chili night or something, and it was the glue. It kept people together, and that was the thing that impressed me, was that I thought, wow, this really impacted people's lives. The man, Steve Koonin, who used to be the head of TNT. He did not cancel us. He left before we got canceled by the new people. Anyway, he was dating his wife, and in the very beginning of dating, he asked his wife if she would like to go out to a movie or dinner on a Friday night, and she said, no, absolutely not. I do not go out. I don't go out on Friday night.
We have places to be.
And he was stunned, and he said, well, why not? She said, well, that's my night of Dallas. And so he did some takeout food and brought it over to her so he could be with her, but she wouldn't budge because she had a TV show that she wanted to watch. So, and then they ended up getting married. So we ended up meeting her at an event in Atlanta. And so we met. That's how they got together. That's how they met.
You mentioned in your book and you told us at the beginning, your legs are the legs in the publicity photo for the movie The Graduate. Now, do you know why Anne Bancroft didn't pose for that photo herself?
I have no idea. I didn't even know what it was. It was in the 60s when the film came out, and a photographer that I'd worked with, because I was a model at that time, he said, I need you for about an hour. Can you come over to the studio? And I said, sure. So I did the pose with the one leg up and the other with the stocking, blah, blah, blah. And I left. It was 1 hour. And that was it. I had no idea. I said, what is this for? You just need my legs? And he said, yes. He said, it's for something to do with a film. It was vague. I had no idea. And it was, I think the film came out either 63 or 67. Not quite sure.
I think 67.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, that was it. That was.
And you were paid the whopping. You were paid the whopping $25 for that.
I laugh. I say $12.50 a leg. It was so funny. We just laughed about it. It was like I had no idea. And then, then I hear these weird stories from young men who said, ooh, I had that poster up in my dorm room. And I thought, oh, dear. Anyway, it brought a lot of laughs to the family.
Okay.
We thought it was great fun.
But that moment in time when you were just 27 came full circle in 2001 when you played Mrs. Robinson in London at the West End production of The Graduate. What was that like, taking a leap from being able to do multiple takes to getting to have to do it right the first time with a live audience?
Well, that's kind of the epitome of an actor's career when you're invited to the London stage. And it was thrilling and exciting, and there's a whole different feeling that happens. On film, you memorize your lines and you do everything right, but then like the dogs barking and the things happening, those things happen in real life when you're filming. But when you're on stage, there's an immediate reaction to your work. You don't do it for the reaction, but there's energy in the room. I mean, there are all these people focused on the story that you're telling on stage, and there's an immediacy to it. And you are up there telling a story. It's beautiful. I mean, the whole energy exchange in theater is so rewarding, and but it's very different because you. I think one of the first things that happened was that there are people in the audience, and they're opening candy wrappers and things like that are very distracting.
Yeah.
So and at that time we had no mics. We had to project to the top of the theater, 1,200 seat theater, and those things were different. That was different, and absolutely, I love things that challenge you as a human being, and it pulls you. It's like, okay, let's expand. Let's try this. Let's do this, and it's very rewarding. I love theater, and I think it helps you as an actor on film as well. So to do both was really a gift.
So in that show, you actually had a nude scene. And for me, that would be really okay, no, thank you. I'm not going to take it. Did that change your mind a little bit about taking the role, or how do you work yourself up to do that?
Well, that was a stop. It was like, oh, wait a minute, wait just a second, before I totally agree. I have several dear friends in London, but I called both of them and I said, and they had different sensibilities and viewpoints, etc. So I said, I've been offered this role of the Graduate in the West End at the Gielgud Theater. Could you go as soon as possible and see Kathleen Turner and report what is this nude scene? Because I'd never done anything like that. I'd never done a wet T-shirt, anything, nothing. So I thought, well, okay. So I asked them, I said, please go and see it and report. So they both went, and they called separately and said, it's nothing. You stand at the back of the stage, and they had, like in the film, they had those shutters,
right?
Wooden shutters.
Yeah.
And the lighting comes in, and you're at the back of the stage. The lighting goes down to sort of a blue, and the shutters come across your body.
Oh, okay.
And they said it's very tasteful. It's not just standing there like in a dressing room,
right,
with nude, because I wouldn't do that. And they said it's really subtle and very, very beautiful and very classy. So I said, okay, and got on a plane and went to London. And then on the day before we opened, they said, Linda, you have to drop the towel because we have to make sure the lighting is correct. And I was always doing it in I had the towel on. And I said, oh, God, I was terrified. And so I dropped the towel, they did the lighting, and that was it. But I was mortified. I was just like, what have I done? What have I accepted to do? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I did it. And I never got over the fear. It never got easy.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't fun. No. Anyway, but you just get used to it. I told David Nichol, who played the young Benjamin, I said, this is a 15-second scene. And the audience they know it's coming. So I said, it's a 15-second scene. I want it to be 7. So fast. And we did. We ended up having a great time. And, it's such a big deal. And it's 15 seconds in a whole 2-hour play. So, anyway.
And how long did you do that play?
6 months.
Nice.
Okay. Now, I read during the performance on 9/11, were you on stage at the time the United States was being attacked?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't. A lot of people think I was, but I was in the basement in the theater getting fitted for the wig. I had short blonde hair, and I said, Mrs. Robinson doesn't have short blonde hair. It didn't feel right for the character. So they were great. They're like the master wig makers over there anyway. So they said, we would like to have you have brown hair, and we'll fit you with the wig. So I was in the basement in the theater, and one of the crew guys, and lighting guy or somebody, he came running down. He said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I said, "What are you sorry about?" And he said, all he kept saying was, "I'm sorry." And we couldn't get it out of him what he was talking about. So anyway, he said, "Come follow me." So we went up to the office, and he turned on the television. And this was right before we were opening.
Oh.
It wasn't that night, but it was like a day later.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so shocking. The first time that had ever happened in the United States. And here I was in a country that it happened, they've had terrorists forever.
Right.
It could not have been nicer and more comforting to me. It was astounding, and it was so difficult for me to know that I had to stay there in London. We were opening a play, and my family, everybody was here in California. I couldn't get home, and we had planned that they were going to come over, and we were going to spend Christmas together. And this was in September, and that did not happen. And we were in a wonderful hotel that nurtured us, and just a lot of Americans were there. So we took our breath and watched the news from afar, from London, and watched. And that was when I was so proud of being an American, and I so wanted to be here, to be a part of that joining together and the patriotism that was happening here. It was extraordinary, and to be out of the country at that time was just very, very challenging.
It is one of those moments that you will always remember where you were.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we end today, I want to do something fun. You have a lot.
Let's do something
I know. Let's
fun.
change the tone of this interview. Woo!
Yeah, that got heavy fast.
Let's bring it back.
Okay.
So in your book, The Road to Happiness is always under construction. Still available for sale, so it's a great read. I recommend anybody go out and get it.
Thank you.
I want to tease a few things and let you fill in the details. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first one I have is Elizabeth Taylor gave you a compliment in her tell-all book.
Yes. Elizabeth called me the bitch with the long legs.
Oh, nice.
That's a quote.
That's funny.
And we laughed about it.
Okay. There's something special about the watch Rhett Butler is wearing in the 1939 film Gone with the Wind.
Yes. My father made the watch fob. He was a jeweler in Culver City across from MGM where Gone with the Wind was shot.
Now, you don't have the watch, I assume, right?
No, I don't have no.
Oh, I didn't know if maybe he got to keep it.
I know. Maybe Clark Gable has it.
Okay, the recording of Frank Sinatra's New York, New York is always going to be special to you. Tell us why.
Because I was in the room when he recorded it.
How did that happen?
Yeah, you can't just say that.
I'm sorry?
You can't just leave it at that.
My husband was the art director at Capitol Records and then went on later to Warner Brothers Records. But he shot many of the album covers of Mr. Sinatra's. And he's the one that came up with Old Blue Eyes Is Back. Oh. So he knew. I used to go to recording sessions and watch Mr. Sinatra perform magic. And, I mean, I thought nothing of it. I thought, oh, this is fun. We get to go see Mr. Sinatra tonight. And we'd get a babysitter, and off I'd go. And my husband, Ed Thrasher, would take the photographs. And you know, it was lovely. Nelson Riddle's orchestra. It was just a magical time.
You once dined with a legendary film star, Bette Davis.
I dined with her, yes. There was. We were offered. Now this was a scary one for me. To remake Now Voyager, Bette Davis's film that I adored. I mean, she was I was her biggest fan. Anyway, I loved her. So a screenwriter had come and asked if she could play the mother, and I would play Bette Davis's role in Now Voyager, which was really scary. I mean, to play somebody, a role that somebody was already famous for in a remake, and I thought, oh boy, this is really tricky. I was excited to work with her, but then I knew that was a tricky one. So anyway, she called one day, and I'll make this story short, but we went to, she was renting a home in Malibu. She said, please come, have cocktails with me. And then her assistant called and said, if you make the cut, you will join her for dinner.
Ooh.
And I thought, oh boy, this is tricky. So I was so nervous and went to Malibu, and she came out she's tiny and frail, and she'd just gotten out of the hospital. So she graciously met me, and we talked about the show, Dallas. She was a big fan. And when I heard that, part of me was excited, and part of me was like, oh, God, Bette Davis is watching Dallas. Anyway, long story short, she did watch the show, loved the show, and then she loved talking about everybody in real life. She said, this is who Larry Hagman really is, deep down. This is and she went on. And then she looked at me with those great eyes and said, you are too nice. And then she proceeded to tell me that I should go to the set the next day and not talk to anybody. And I said, well, I've been doing the show for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's a little strange.
That would be very suspect, I would think.
So anyway, we went to dinner, and we had the best time. I mean, the stories were, I don't think I ate anything. I just was in awe.
Aww.
And she was with her assistant, and the assistant kept filling the cigarette lighter holder with non-filtered cigarettes.
Oh, geez.
She smoked the entire time, and regaled us with great stories. It was a magical evening. She closed the place. We all did. I mean, she just kept talking, sharing stories, and did not like drinking wine. She liked something stronger.
Oh.
And the doctors took her off of that, so she was drinking white wine. Did not like it.
Aw.
That's my Bette Davis story.
That is
awesome.
awesome. Now, at the beginning of the show, we talked about how positive and happy you are, and we can tell. This has just been an infectious little fun interview we've had. And Elizabeth and I have young kids. We often feel really rushed. I think we feel like we miss a lot of moments that we should have paused and really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. So tell us what you think a key to a happy life is.
The key, the big word is love. I know you briefly, but I know that you love your children.
Oh, yes.
I just make sure that they feel loved. It's quality in my world and not quantity. I mean, people can be with them and just sort of ignore them anyway. So it's like when you are with them, make sure those moments count. Be kind. When they do express their frustrations, or if they're mad, try to understand it. And as frustrated as you may be, understand them. They're just trying to learn and get through life the best they can as well. So, but be present and honor their dreams, because that's what the magic is. We're all here for a purpose, and our job is to find out what the hell it is. So honor those dreams that they have, and support them, and be there for them, as best as you can. I mean, we know you both have to work, and sometimes the hours are crazy, but give them the attention that they deserved, and so do you, and make sure that you guys have special time together, because when you take care of that core, then they feel it. But if you feel resentful that you don't have any time, and you don't have time to have quiet intimacy, the two of you, and it's all about the kids and they're driving you crazy, take a break, go to a hotel, have a quiet evening, come back, you'll feel better, they'll feel better, on and on. That's it.
Wonderful advice. I love it.
You're involved in a couple of charities featured on your website, lindagray.com. Can you tell us about them?
Well, yes, one is Best Buddies, and I'll make this brief.
Oh, I love that charity.
Now you can't talk. You run out of fuel here. One is Best Buddies, and it was started by Anthony Shriver, and he came from Sergeant Shriver and Mrs. Shriver, who absolutely did their very best. Their key was to give back, and started Special Olympics, and I mean it was just amazing family. So Anthony took over and started Best Buddies, and it's about and I don't like the word handicapped. It's about
they're special needs kids.
Special needs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like special needs kids.
Yeah.
And when you met, I have a buddy named Katie, who's she's so funny, and I haven't seen her in a little bit, but one day we were at the Shrivers' home back east, and she was there, and there were two boys that were kind of liking her, and she told me, she said, now you have to keep the boys away from me because I have two boyfriends. So you have to keep them away from me. I said, okay, I'll do the best. Well, I turned my back, and one of them came over to me, and then she got mad because I wasn't taking care of her properly. So I knew that she liked cherry Cokes, and she turned her back on me, folded her arms, and wouldn't speak to me because I didn't do the proper thing. Anyway, so I said, okay, Katie, how about if I take you over to the bar and I buy you a cherry Coke? Well, I was back in the good graces. She loved me. We left the boyfriends behind. Everything was fine. They are the dearest, sweetest people you have ever met in your life. And they do have challenges, but underneath that there is a quality that you can't replace with anything. It's just beyond.
It's a great charity.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I love.
And
then
what else?
The other one is the Family Place. They're a nonprofit that they take care of any kind of abuse. The people are maybe thrown out of their homes, their relationships are abusive. They look after the person involved, and they bring them back. They kind of rehab them and bring them back. Then they bring them clothing and a job interview so that they can get back into society in a very respectful way. So I really love the Family Place.
Great job. Lastly, you've got a big event coming up in March in Dallas. Jeffrey told me about it, your rep. It's celebrating the 40th anniversary of Dallas. Can you believe that that's already coming up?
No, I can't. When they called us and they said, 40 years. And I said, get out, not 40 years. Oh, dear. It's like scary. I can remember day one on the set of Dallas, in Dallas, Texas. It's like, that can't be 40 years ago. Anyway, it is, and I'm going to be there.
So what's the event? I looked online. I can't find anything about it.
They haven't said anything. Jeffrey kind of jumps the gun. So
okay.
It hasn't been kind of announced yet. But, yes, it is in March. And actually, in January, this is 40 years ago, is when we arrived in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
January of 78, if you can even imagine. Now it's 2018, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, I guess so, if you add everything up. So, yes, there is some kind of event. I don't know when, where, how. I don't know who's involved, who's going. I know nothing. So,
Aw, man.
I guess that's the way it is.
Well, this is a good plug then, because if you want to find out about that event, I bet following you on your Twitter, which is at Linda_Gray, or your Instagram, LindaGray_, or your website, lindagray.com, I would hope you post some pictures or some announcements or something. I'm going to be following this.
I know. Tell us who was there.
You sweetheart. You're so cute, because we don't know anything, but I will keep you updated online as soon as I know something. I don't know anything. So
My goodness.
they usually try to tell us, but I think they're just gathering, trying to figure out. It's pretty soon, the end of
I
March.
know. That's why I thought you would know.
Right.
But that's okay.
I don't.
Well,
We'll be
Linda,
there.
this has been a fabulous time. I was looking forward to this all week, and now it's over, and I wish we could start over because
Yeah, it
this
was
so
fun.
much fun.
Thank you.
Well, I just had the best time, and I hope I didn't chat on too much.
No, it
I
was
usually
great.
tend to go off on tangents
No.
if I'm allowed to. I just go, and I need somebody to reel me in sometimes.
No
You guys
problem.
were great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, what a delight. Thank you for spending your morning with us. We really do appreciate it.
I love it. I appreciate you. So thank you very much for inviting me over.
What a special lady. I'm telling you.
Loved her.
Her whole outlook on life, and that's why I wanted to ask her, what is the key to a happy life? Because I knew that she'd have something really cool to say.
She was outstanding. Just, you could hear the twinkle and the smile in her voice. And people always say that, like, we can hear that you're smiling. And you could hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a wonderful woman.
So thank you, Linda Gray, for being on Fan Counters. We really appreciated her being here.
Yeah, cool.
We know this show was a little bit shorter than what you're normally used to, but we couldn't fit all of that great material into last week's show, so we appreciate you tuning in this week. We got another great show next week for you, so please tune in. Every Friday, we launch a new show on Stitcher and iTunes, and tune in on all those wonderful podcasting apps that you're listening to us on. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to go to lindagray.com. The Road to Happiness is Always Under Construction is a book that's available now. And if you go to the website that I just mentioned, lindagray.com, I mentioned it again, you can find a hardcover, personally autographed book for just $26. What a deal. And if you want to throw in the autographed photo, it's $10. So awesome deals from lindagray.com. You can find us everywhere podcasts are available, including iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn and all of them. And if you want to give us a review on those sites, that would be fantastic. And if you want to communicate with the show, you can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/fancounters.
Or email us at hello@fancounters.com.
She just had to do that line 4 times. Sorry. Okay, we got to go because we all need a break.
We're getting a little punchy.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.